This week, I want to give a quick news roundup because there was a lot happening. So first things first, if you haven't heard already, the Biden administration got a victory with Senator Joe Manchin coming on board for that Build Back Better plan. Although it has some revisions to it, they're still going to push a lot of what they wanted to get through. So let's take a look. Firstly, taxes. So this bill sets a new corporate tax rate of 15%. Although corporations have technically had a 21% tax rate, some of the loopholes around this let corporations pay a lot less than that. And so this is meant to set that minimum so that they can raise the revenue. They're thinking of $313 billion. They also included some IRS enforcement or reinforcement, I should say, to help kind of go back through tax audits and help the agency track down more tax dollars, essentially. Start getting some agents to help out. As you probably noticed, if you've done anything with the IRS recently, such as an amendment, everything's been taking a really long time. So hopefully that can help out on that end, although it remains to be seen. An interesting one that's included in here is healthcare. So they've implemented this prescription drug negotiation pricing, which allows Medicare to go back to the carriers and start negotiating the drug prices. Now, this gives them 10 drugs in the first year, which is next year, and then hopefully ongoing to reduce the costs for those of you on Medicare. And this may have a lesser impact on most of you clients, but the extension of the Aca Subsidies for another 3 years. This was the ability that if you were getting healthcare through the exchange and you were under a certain income threshold, you were allowed to apply for a subsidy. Therefore, your insurance costs were essentially covered. So they're going to continue that for the next 3 years because that was set to expire, I believe, at the end of this year. They're also trying to bring in some climate stuff, essentially some energy tax credits that were set to expire. I've read as much as $7,500 for some of the electric vehicles. Although some of those vehicle manufacturers had discounted some of the pricing to make up for that energy tax credit for those of you who are buying them. This is set to kind of put that back into place to ensure that that is the focus going forward. So this bill has not passed yet. However, this looks like it gives them the votes they need to go ahead and push it through in this current state. So those are the key provisions in the new Build Back Better plan. Not a lot of those are going to directly impact you as the client, mostly the Medicare costs. We'll see how those shake out. It's a bit interesting. We'll have to see when we run into Medicare for 2023. If you haven't seen it already, the U.S. is technically in a recession by most definitions, which is 2 successive quarters of negative GDP growth. So the numbers came out this week, and the economy had a negative 0.9 GDP growth, which again signals that the economy is slowing down because if you remember, GDP is meant to measure the growth of the economy. So when it's negative, the economy is contracting. As it's growing, that means the economy is expanding and we all do well. So technically we are in a recession, although Janet Yellen came out and said, hey, we're technically in a recession, but not, because there's a lot of different things going on within the economy, primarily around job creation, household finances, and consumer spending. She sees those as continuing to run strong. Therefore, we're in this kind of muted recession. So how does this affect you? Well, as you can see, everything around you is still increasing in cost, aka gas at the pump. If you're filling up your tank regularly, you're seeing an impact there. Groceries. So still a lot of the same themes that we've talked about and I've talked about throughout the year. So what does, recession? Well, typically a recession means, there's going to be some hiccups along the way as we kind of glide up and out of it. But in all fairness, it doesn't necessarily mean anything changes other than we know kind of the strategy that the Fed has been under and where the economy has been so far this year. And speaking of the Fed, this week they came out and raised the Fed funds interest rate again by 0.75%. And what does this mean? Well, it means what we've talked about, of course, in that they are trying to increase interest rates to bring down and combat inflation. And their whole premise is to slow down the economy so that inflation can come down and then start building the economy back up from there. So a lot of this was already factored into what we consider the markets, what we consider the economy, because the Fed has been pretty transparent in talking about this idea of raising interest rates. So of course, the most interesting thing is that when this news came out, you would assume that a lot of stocks would start going down or the market would start declining, but instead it reversed and everything shot up. But there you have it. The Fed went ahead and increased interest rates. So what does that mean for you? Well, it means more of the same. So mortgage rates will most likely continue to go up. Loans and other type of HELOCs, car loans, personal loans, all of those interest rates will slowly start to creep up as they take on the interest based on the Fed's funds rate. So you'll start to see that borrowing is going to get a little bit more expensive. So if you are considering doing a large purchase, probably the sooner the better, as that cost will most likely go up. And all that kind of trickles through the economy, of course, right? Especially into the housing market where we've seen the mortgage rates kind of stick around 5% more so recently. And if those continue to climb, then you may see housing prices continuing to stabilize or to come down because people just can't afford as much if the interest rate is higher. So there's the news roundup. Again, what does this mean for you? Well, there may be some changes to Medicare. Doesn't look like there's going to be too much change on the tax side. It looks like the economy is still continuing to slow down, so you may see some more pain points around jobs, hiring, inflation, and all of the above. However, we still stay committed to the long term, at least when it comes to your investments. We still believe that investing is the best way to grow your wealth. And if you're worried or concerned about that, please let us know. We'd be happy to sit down and go through your financial plan, make sure that you understand where you sit and how you will get through this tough period. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, please share with your friends as it helps us grow this channel and provide good information and content for everyone to view. As always, have a great day and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Talk soon.